We want to turn now to another breaking news story, and I'm going to caution you. We are following this developing story. We want to be clear that we do not know anything that ties what I'm about to say, that story, to what we've been talking about in New Orleans. This is just a separate story that we're learning about. Authorities are investigating a vehicle fire outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas that left one person dead, injured several others. We believe the vehicle in question is a Cybertruck. At a press conference this afternoon, authorities did not have any information on the cause of that fire. They said they have many unanswered questions.
CCTV footage shows a Cybertruck exploding outside of the entrance of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas this morning. And moments later, you could see what looks like fireworks shooting out from the vehicle. One person, the driver, was killed, 7 others injured. Minor injuries, that is. And now an investigation is looking at whether this was an act of terrorism. Eyewitness News reporter Tim Caputo has just arrived in Las Vegas. He joined us now live with the breaking developments. Tim?
And David, certainly that is the big question, whether or not this is an act of terrorism. We heard from authorities a short time ago who can tell people that this appears to be an isolated incident. They don't believe there's any kind of ongoing or active threat to the community. They do believe this Tesla Cybertruck was rented out of Colorado a couple days ago, driven here to Las Vegas. So it only arrived around 7:30 this morning. And authorities say the truck was seen driving up and down the strip for about 10-15 minutes before parking in front of the Trump Tower here behind me, and for only about 15-20 seconds before it exploded. You see the scene live right now behind me. The street is still closed. Police still investigating. In fact, that Cybertruck is still in the exact spot where it exploded. We're going to show you the video here. We do want to warn you, it is graphic because the driver of that Cybertruck was inside at the time and died in that explosion. Now, this blast happened at around 8:40 this morning, right at the front doors of the covered entrance of the Trump Tower. The person in the driver's seat was killed, and another 7 people who were nearby suffered minor injuries. I mentioned the Cybertruck was rented out of Colorado via the Turo app, where you could rent cars from individual car owners. This one was picked up in Colorado Springs a few days ago, back on December 30th. Now, the pickup truck used in the terrorist attack in New Orleans also rented on Turo, but authorities are now investigating any connection, but at the moment say it appears using the same app and happening on the same day may just be a coincidence. Either way, Las Vegas police currently trying to identify the driver and whether it was the person who rented the Cybertruck in the first place. But authorities say Tesla owner Elon Musk quickly provided investigators with information about the truck's journey here to Las Vegas, which included photos of the person who rented it and drove it to Trump Tower.
He gave us quite a bit of additional information in regards to how the vehicle was locked after it exploded due to the force of the nature of the force from the explosion, as well as being able to capture all of the video from the Tesla charging stations across the country. And he sent that directly to us. So I appreciate his help on that.
Interesting note about the Tesla Cybertruck. Authorities say it actually absorbed much of the blast. So if you even look at the video, it's fairly close to the front doors of that hotel, and the doors that are glass weren't even damaged. Of course, this is still early in the investigation, and authorities are trying to figure out the exact name and identity of that driver, and of course the motive in all this. They don't want to say it's terrorism at this point because they don't know a motive.
Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. Of course, just hours after the event that took place on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, we had yet another PSYOP occur because, well, it's going to clearly be the year of PSYOPs. And thankfully, Elon Musk was able to get a hold of the sheriff involved in the investigation just a few minutes after this entire thing occurred, because that's normal. Like when a General Motors vehicle is involved in a car accident or something along those lines, if you see a Toyota on the side of the road, usually the guy who quote unquote owns the company will call the local sheriff in whatever country it's in to talk to them about everything they know about the vehicle. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And of course, that's because these aren't real, actual things that are occurring organically. The government is staging these events. That's what psychological operations are. That's what your government is emotionally inflicting on its civilians. And it is like a seesaw of emotions with the left, right, up and down, left and right. And part of this entire narrative that we're starting to see, which we've seen over the last couple of years, of course, is that different things are being reported from different media. That's, of course, being done by design, that conservatives won't believe anything coming from liberal media like NBC and CNN and CBS. And, of course, Democrats won't believe anything that's aired on Fox News or News Nation or from any of the alt-right media. Of course, this is being done by design. We're literally living inside of two countries, and at some point this is going to come to a boiling head, which is what the design of this entire psychological operation has been designed to do, to divide us into two separate countries. But let's look at this story for a second, because there's a lot of irony in the entire story, but of course there's a lot of reasons that they did this. Of course, planting Elon Musk's Tesla truck right outside of Trump Towers. You know where this is going with who's behind it, why were they doing it, and of course how the media spins the story. So the real irony of it is that we're told that there was a bomb from the conservative media inside of this truck. And the irony is that you don't need a bomb inside of the truck. All the driver would have had to do was pull up and plug this vehicle into an EV charging station, and well, the thing could detonate at any time. As I've shown people in the past, these things are ticking time bombs. That's what electric vehicles are. Take a look. So they don't need to actually put explosives inside of it. You're driving an explosive that could go off at any time in your garage, anytime while you're driving it. You just don't know. But of course, don't worry about the safety measures involved. The majority of conservatives were anti-electric vehicle. Of course, all it took for them to change their mind was Elon Musk to stand on stage and say that he funds and supports Donald Trump. And then, of course, they, like the sheeple that they are, now are backing him every which way that they can. So there's definitely an obvious tie-in that they're teasing here between what happened in New Orleans and what happened in Las Vegas. And the tie-in, of course, is that one, we have two military veterans involved. And the other one is this rental website called Turo. And pay attention to what Turo does, because I'm sure the majority of people out there have never heard of it before. But Turo, both of these vehicles were rented via Turo. The vehicle in New Orleans and the vehicle in Las Vegas. Turo is an American peer-to-peer car-sharing company based in San Francisco. The company allows private car owners to rent out their vehicles via an online and mobile interface in 4 countries, the US, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. And all you need to hear there is company allowing private car owners to rent out vehicles to one another. So in other words, I could go on this app and I could rent my car out to you, and then you could go and get my car and do whatever you want with it. Then it makes it difficult for the government to trace who's operating the vehicle. You see, that's a problem for the government, who is hell-bent and fully obsessed with not just control over you, which they already have, control over your movements. You see, an app like this and peer-to-peer sharing is a problem for the government, because if you were going to carry something out, per se, or you were going to try to evade, or you were trying to hide and go off grid and potentially maybe rent something from you cannot do something like this. You cannot have peer-to-peer car sharing. And they let you know almost immediately that both vehicles were rented out through this Turo app, and they let you know about it. They'll let you know of the written-in psyop right as it happens. Nobody out there is going to be suspicious as to how they're getting this information out so fast. Just like the United Healthcare I talked about, how quickly they release that footage to you. How many of these crimes occur where they never release the CCTV footage? They just decide, well, we'll release this one. We won't release that one. They released it that morning. It was all over the news to suck people in to the psyop, to make people feel more involved in it because they're actually seeing the crime being committed. That's how they draw you in to the psyop. Something like this, right? Elon Musk is on the phone immediately because that's normal with the actual sheriff involved in the investigation so he could let him know how a Tesla vehicle works, right? Of course, this is all make-believe. This is pre-planned. That's how these events work. And Elon Musk doesn't even run any of his companies. Everybody out there should know that he's an actor. He's a figure. He's put at the forefront of these DARPA operations like SpaceX and Tesla, making you think that he's just some type of entrepreneur. They need a face to slap on all of these things to make you think you're independently making choices. And like I said earlier, all these conservatives were anti-electric vehicles, and all it took was him siding with Donald Trump for them to start supporting it. And you'll see how this psychosis goes right now. So despite the fact that almost every single day we see stories out there about Tesla recalls, Tesla's exploding. You know, the stories last winter, if you don't remember, in Chicago when the temperatures were below freezing, that all these Tesla cars wouldn't turn on. And people out there are so dumb they don't realize when these temperatures get really cold that these vehicles are not going to operate. It's going to fry out the battery. Think about your car and how you have to run your car in the winter to make sure the battery doesn't die. Well, the whole Tesla engine is a giant battery. And if it fries, the whole car fries. And all these people learned the hard way once their Tesla vehicles got in cold temperatures that they were going to turn into clunkers. So Elon Musk has never addressed any of these stories, but now he's addressing this story, okay? Because the people who are inside of this left-right psyop are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're dissecting this and siding with whatever side fits into their political party, right? Elon Musk is now in the conservative party. He's now a Republican. He's now everywhere we see him as if he's the president himself with Donald Trump. You don't see the vice president anywhere. You only see Elon Musk. And people out there are tweeting things like this. Honestly, Elon, you should consider suing outlets who frame this story like this. These headlines are sabotaging Tesla's brand by making people think it caught on fire. There's about one Tesla fire to every 130 million miles traveled. Other cars have one every 18 million miles, which, yeah, that doesn't sound like a thing that you want to brag about. I mean, if you were going to take the chance of, hey, you know, 1 out of 18 miles traveled, you might not catch fire. I don't think you'd ever step foot inside of the vehicle. But you're seeing what they call legacy media. This is a term created by Elon Musk, of course, to tell you that free speech is X. The media is now X. You are now the media. This is part of the psyop they're creating to empower people, but at the same time feeding them government-created false narratives. That's what the alt-right media is. It's just an illusion, right? So the narratives there are Tesla Cybertruck explosion in front of the Trump hotel leaves people dead. And then, of course, you're seeing the truck's catching fire. The truck reportedly catches fire. The truck's catching fire, right? And Elon Musk is saying, hey, you know what? Maybe I will sue these people. And he says, look, the evil knuckleheads picked the wrong vehicle for a terror attack. Cybertruck actually contained the explosion and directed the blast upwards. Not even the glass doors of the lobby were broken. And you heard in the earlier news clip that they made sure they mentioned that in the news, that the truck actually contained the explosion, because that's how subtly they convince people into these things being safe. As if a person out there should worry about having a bomb in their car. And oh, guess what? Your car can explode with a bomb inside of it. The Tesla vehicle stopped the bomb. Oh yeah, did it stop the person inside who supposedly died from catching fire and exploding himself? Well, of course not. But your car won't explode, right? I mean, this makes literally no sense. But what makes sense is what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're martyring Musk again. They're taking Musk now like they take Trump, and they're martyring him. Remember what's been happening the last couple of weeks? I talked about this. The H-1B visas and how Musk is talking about bringing in people from other countries to take American jobs. Well, this bothers those nationalist MAGA people. They're very upset about it. They don't want Elon bringing other people in to do jobs that Americans can do. And Musk was pretty much saying that, well, these Americans are dumb compared to people in India. And of course, the MAGA people were upset, saying that's not true. That's really just about getting cheap labor and bringing it to America. That's no different than what the Dems do, which isn't a surprise anyway, because they're all really these are all global communists, from Musk to Obama, to whatever side they're on. All these people pretending to be one side or the other are globalist communists, okay? And after that occurred, everybody was starting to turn on Elon Musk. The MAGA honeymoon is over. Who's winning the MAGA Musk civil war, right? Well, all it takes is to create a nice convenient psyop where the media starts crapping on Elon Musk to make all of those MAGA people say, you know what, I side with Elon Musk. Because these are the stories out there that people are actually saying. These are the things that they're saying in relation to the Tesla vehicle exploding outside of Trump Tower. And these are the things that Elon Musk is retweeting. The Cybertruck literally saved lives in Las Vegas today. The local police department confirmed it. Then the mainstream media writes headlines that make a terror attack look like Tesla's fault. This is dishonest and shameful. We need a way to community note these authors. Elon Musk retweets somebody else. Cybertruck's the number one most American-made full-size pickup truck with 65% of its parts coming from the U.S. and Canada, 90% coming from North America as a whole, double that of a gas-powered Ford F-150. And then someone says, that's it, I'm buying a Cybertruck. In fact, the most pro-American thing you can do is buy a Cybertruck. Now, if I told you 1 year ago, that part of the MAGA movement was going to be about buying electric vehicles, you would have said, I'm completely insane. You would have said, wait a minute, I thought part of the, how they're putting people in baskets is the conservatives are going to be all pro gasoline and oil. They'll never get converted into electric vehicles, and they'll never get converted into taking a Neuralink. Well, how times have changed. How easy it is to manipulate them. Easier, perhaps, than the other side, or just as easy. I mean, you convince one side that 5-year-olds can pick their gender, and these people insanely believe it. Then you convince the other side, well, he's on the same team as Donald Trump. Look, they're taking all these pictures together. Oh, so now all of a sudden, you're okay with the Neuralink. Now all of a sudden, you want an electric vehicle. And in fact, it's the most pro-American thing you can do, is go out and buy a Cybertruck, because that's how psyops work. You see how the psyop works? Let's go back to the beginning, right? The day starts with a truck going through a crowd that conveniently has a flag of ISIS on the back in New Orleans. Everybody's looking at the border. Everybody's getting angry. Everyone's saying that this is a terror attack. And it's because the Democrats don't close the borders. A few hours later, conveniently, the face of MAGA, the face of anti-border, Donald Trump, has his right-hand man, Elon Musk, Cybertruck rented out, driving around Trump Towers in Las Vegas, and it explodes right outside. Both the vehicles are rented off of the same app, which of course is a peer-to-peer car-sharing app that allows people like me and you to share our cars with one another, which of course the government does not want, because that would make it even more difficult for them to trace you, even though with an app, of course, they could go right back to the app, but they don't want that in general, do they? Do they want us operating outside of their system, so to speak? No, they don't. So from there, you get what? Well, you get Elon Musk contacting the sheriff's department, right? Within hours, the sheriff is speaking to the media and talking about how he talked to Elon Musk. And Elon Musk explained the ins and outs of the cars. Did he explain how the car could be controlled remotely, or how there's cameras inside the car? No. Oh, well, we were able to track him. Elon Musk even said that they tracked every Tesla charging station. I mean, they literally were telling you how they were able to track and monitor this vehicle. Now, conservatives in the past would have heard that and said, that's a problem, that's horrible, how are you letting them? But because this could potentially be a terrorist, of course, everybody out there ignores the fact that in that news clip, they talked about how this person rented the vehicle and was literally monitored the entire way and every stop they made along the way. And this is the new normal. 10 years ago, nobody would have allowed that to occur. Now it's like, well, if they're tracking me to see if I have a certain something inside of my body, that's a problem. But if they're tracking the vehicle because the government's telling us a terrorist has crossed the border, which is not true at all, they're letting them in because the government themselves funds the terror groups, well, that's a problem. We need to track and monitor vehicles, right? You see how it works? That's why I talk about the seesaw on both sides. It's the same thing going on both sides, and these people don't see that it's about controlling you, controlling your movements, and controlling really your perception of reality. And that's what they're doing here, right? You have now the Democrat media, which has been all celebrities. What have they been doing? They've been shilling to everyone to get an EV. How many commercials have we seen with these celebrities? Cringeworthy performances of telling you to get an electric vehicle, right? Every conservative goes, oh, this is the same crap out of Hollywood. They want you to eat, plant-based, don't eat meat, get an electric vehicle, get your magic potion injected in your body. Oh, okay. So now suddenly the liberal media is talking about the Tesla truck catching fire, and these people can't see that they're in a psychosis. Now the conservatives are saying that's ridiculous. It didn't catch fire. There was a bomb inside. But this car is so great and so cool that it saved lives. Because, you know, we're all going to be driving around with dynamite in our trucks, and if it goes off, well, thankfully, the truck will prevent bystanders from actually getting killed, but not the people inside the vehicle, of course, because, well, if it's a bomb inside, they're going to die, right? But on the flip side, these electric vehicles are ticking time bombs. These things are igniting in people's garages. There's so many stories of people's homes catching fire because there's a flood in the garage and these things blowing up. Or just them blowing up on the road, or blowing up on the side of the road, or blowing up in a parking lot, right? But now, because you've tied ISIS to it, which these conservatives don't even have the slightest clue that ISIS and the CIA are the same exact thing, they suddenly feel like, oh, we gotta support, you know, even though Musk is getting rid of the job, we gotta get back on the Musk bandwagon now. He is still on our team, folks. And that's how easy it is to manipulate these people. None of them independently think. The scary part is that both the left and the right think that they're awake. The scarier part is that the right thinks they're awake to actual, what you would call conspiracy truth, and they don't have the slightest clue. And they refuse to believe that they're actually worked into the PSYOP itself because all these things are government-fed PSYOPs that they're feeding them. They're feeding them these narratives, and they think that they're sleuths. They think that they're awake. They're like, oh, yeah, they're going after P. Diddy now. We're really draining the swamp. That is to just keep you sucked into this, to think that something progressively is being done so that the people don't progressively do something about it. Because if everybody realized that this whole system of what it actually is and how it's working against us and dividing us, the people would put these differences aside. They'd snap out of the psychosis, and these corporations who are running everything, well, they'd be fleeing into the mountains or the underground bunkers in Antarctica. So while they haven't given us a definitive narrative of them being connected, clearly they'll give us more of, oh, the person set it off to send a message to Donald Trump because Donald Trump is going to send immigrants out of America in the next couple of weeks, right? That's what the narrative is here. And they didn't waste any time getting to it immediately on the first day of the new year. PSYOP, PSYOP, PSYOP. They'll give us a name of somebody who probably died underground somewhere in CIA headquarters as the driver of the vehicle, but it might as well call the driver by his real name, which is George Glass or John Doe or whatever you want to call him, because it's a fictional character, just like all these events are staged by the government. It doesn't mean that people don't die in harm's way. It doesn't mean that there's not actual victims of these events. It means that the narrative that they feed you, the driver, what their motives are, what weapons they use, it's all manufactured to manipulate you. That's the point, to get you to do something that you wouldn't think you'd want in the first place to be on board with. They convince you of these things. Soon you'll see. They'll start convincing people that we need driverless vehicles. I've been talking about it for years. All of a sudden, you're hearing people saying vehicles are weapons. Who's ever heard that before? Vehicles are weapons the last 30 years. All of a sudden, vehicles are weapons. The news is here to manufacture behavior. That's what it's here for. They create these black ops operations like that or any of these events. They put people, Manchurian candidates usually behind the wheel, behind the weapon. They go and carry these events out. Then they tell you what is needed after it occurs to make change, make progressive change, which is what they want. Big Brother wants from the get-go, convincing you to be on board with what they want all along. Elon Musk, Cybertruck, I mean, it's laughable, right? All of a sudden, MAGA civil war, MAGA's infighting. Now, all of a sudden, MAGA saying the most pro-America thing you could do right now is buy an electric vehicle, buy a Tesla Cybertruck. That's how easy it is to manipulate people in this PSYOP. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.